for being here.
You're more than welcome.
Guys, this is the most important episode I will ever have recorded. This is the man that you guys have heard me talk about for literally years. I have credited this man, Steve, with saving and changing my life. This is him. This is the guy that changed my life. And when I started the show, you had left. You had relapsed when I started the show.
Okay.
And I used to always tell Kim, my co-host, that I wanted to interview you. And I would tell her, I'd be like, well, the best guest we could ever have is Steve. And, you know, he'll be back. And Shatima, I really wanted to interview. I still want to interview Shatima. Yeah. Because people think that my story is crazy.
No, she has a story.
I know. And I'm like, no. You don't. Like the doghouse thing. I'm like, no, you don't actually understand. Like, you want to talk to somebody who really...
It gets worse.
Yeah, you can't even imagine
it gets worse.
What her story was actually like. And I really want to talk to her too. But yeah. I'm so glad that you're here. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me. It's a blessing to be here, actually.
What did you think? I sent you my HA thing, and I told our story, 3 stories. The stories where you said, why don't you for once take care of, be someone that takes care of yourself instead of someone else has to take care of you. You need to pick a side. You're like the little kid that falls out of the bed. Yeah. Was it weird for you to hear me share those stories? Because I told that in 2021. That was the World Convention of HA. I shared that story. Yeah. Was it odd for you to hear me talk about us?
Yes and no.
Okay.
My experience is that's the natural order of things when you participate in this process. The philosophy I was introduced to was one teacher who gives, one learns who receives, and together we weave a tapestry of friendship, each individual becoming part of a larger whole. And my mentors did for me what they mentors did for them.
Right.
And so
yeah.
When they share their experience, they also share the experience of being nurtured by someone who made it through it and who turned around to help someone else go through what they've already been through.
Yeah.
And so when you take a position to invest or to nurture or to be responsible for, we call them our little sheep, I don't know if it's the expectation, but healthy things grow. And if your methods are effective and conducive with relevance, then healthy seeds produce good fruit.
Right.
And so if I didn't believe in you,
yeah,
I would have let you deal with you do.
Yeah.
But so what the flip side of it was, it worked.
Yeah,
you know, to believe that you have something good to offer from not a good position, life experience, being a taker and then decide to be a giver and then to trust the process, and then to see the evolution of the success of it from individuals like myself who lost their way is the beauty of the art of giving.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
And so also it patched up a couple holes I had from my relapse that it stopped the bleeding because it allowed me to see, in spite of my mistakes, there's some good in my life that happened. You know what I mean?
Like through the people that you helped?
Hearing those stories.
Yeah, oh, okay.
It brought back all the times that many core meetings and one-on-ones and just conversations and staying up at night trying to figure out a way how to reach people and say things better. And all the investments, personal investments that I contributed to individuals, and then to see or to hear, especially your story, And to hear you mention some of our experiences, it did a body good. It helped put out some fires. It gave me a little bit more confidence. It shattered some of my fears and my shame.
Yeah.
I was ashamed getting out of jail, starting over again. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do it.
Yeah. I'm sure.
I didn't even have a license. I had to pay $2,000. I was so high one time, I drove on a military base and didn't know it. So I had to go to federal court.
Oh, no.
And that's they only happen once every 2 weeks. And so, it was, I needed my hip surgery and
yeah.
No,
it was a nightmare, and I want to talk about, but I'm really glad to hear that you hearing those stories, because I can understand that would, I'm sure I would feel the same way. Like, it would also give me some confidence back. Yeah. Like, okay, so I was saying something right, because like, here's evidence of my words and they help someone. And when you're in the treatment industry, it's so hard to see anything, because everyone that you're trying to help is doing their best to not take your help and tell you they don't need it. And it's just the nature of working in that profession. And you don't always see if it worked. There are people along the way that told me things that stuck also, that they don't know that I'm out here, sharing some of these things. And so many of the stories that I do share, some of the conversations are things that we just happened even in passing and so it was ultimately so relevant to my experience overall.
I think it was timing as well.
Yeah.
You had, by the time, I think we had some special at Arnold, but so because we took in a lot of the...
Well, you took in the people that no one else would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We quickened the damage. People had depth to their damage.
Yeah. Crucial damage, is that what you said?
Depth to their damage.
Yeah.
It's wide, but it also has a depth to it. And so, someone who suffered the most usually grows the furthest. So, by the time they got to us, all of the resources had failed or didn't work. And so, people are closer to making it after they suffered a lot, opposed to someone new to the process.
That makes sense.
You have to, you don't have to, but statistics is like you don't get it the first time, second time, third, fourth, fifth, or sixth, and it just takes what it takes.
Yeah,
and
totally.
So I think it was the timing, and then when I start seeing people, I stick around long enough to see people heal from the damage and the brokenness when they first got there, and seeing them take multiple year tokens, and it was an amazing experience.
It was. I love that. I loved it there. I loved my time there and what I learned.
It didn't look like much, but
it didn't look like much, but but also though, I needed that though too. We all did, because that's the only way that someone like me could afford to live there. Yeah, it's not like like when Skylar went to, it was $1,500 a month.
I know.
Yeah, it looks nice, I guess. But like, that wasn't my story, you know what I mean? Or any of the people that lived there. I mean, it was, like you said, when all of the resources are gone, the critical damage cases, what do they call it in the ER? When it's like the highest level of emergency, triage. We were the triage patients, and so like you had to focus all of your resources on keeping us alive and keeping the rent down and keeping the cost manageable. But you also busted your ass on like the outdoor areas and making it nicer, and you were constantly working on all of that stuff, and you did so much good there, and you made it so nice. I remember like redoing some of the floors in some of them, and oh my God, do you remember when I dropped the pipe in Doc's hot tub?
I don't remember that.
The straw
in his apartment,
in his hot tub. I forgot about that till right now. When I lived there the first time, the very first time, when by the way, I call my ex, who I know you remember his real name, I call him Evan. Remember?
Yeah,
you fucking hated that guy for good reason. He wasn't no good. I know.
Good.
I know.
He had demons.
Yes, he did.
I could feel him.
Yes, he did.
So I'm not gonna not fight back. No,
he had a horrible story. Then also went to the Marine Corps and fought overseas and had a traumatic brain injury, plus this abuse from when he was young. And I'll probably take all that out. But so Evan, the first time I was there, I was living in the back apartments.
Real quick, how was he?
I think he's okay. So we stayed okay for a while. Actually, after he left, like he went away. I was supposed to go live with him, and after the last arrest in 2013, he took off, and I was supposed to go to Detox at Choices and then go move with him to. And while I was in Detox, I was like, what am I doing? Why am I going to go live with this guy?
It was his friend that allowed you to come out to...
Yes. That is who picked me up.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, because that guy was my friend first. Larry, you would have met him. He had the big yellow Hummer. No. You might have met him. But so Larry was my friend first. He was my roommate, and he had introduced me to... Okay. And then he always felt really bad that all that ended up happening. Okay. So yeah, Larry is who ended up picking me up later. Okay. But... I was supposed to move out there with him, and then when I was in Detox, I was like, what the fuck am I doing? This relationship is horrible. Like, all that's happened is we're homeless. And then I got a little bit better and just started telling him, like, I just kept delaying. And then eventually we weren't talking as much. And then after like a year, I was at FRC, and I saw on Facebook he'd gone on a date with someone. And I was, like, we hadn't spoken in a long time, but we had never really officially broken up. And he's now married to that girl. And I can tell that he doesn't use heroin anymore because he's got real big. Yeah. So he's at least not using heroin anymore. Good. She seems like a great girl. She's like a dental hygienist or something. I think he's okay.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, which is great. So, but when I lived in the top apartment, on the back side, remember Doc's apartment was below us and he had the hot tub? I dropped a straw in there, a Tudor.
I didn't know. I forgot about that.
And you had all of us test, and I left and came back, and Doc said that was basically like a dirty test, which I would have been dirty anyways. And y'all knew it was me. It was when Kathy lived up there and Maureen and a couple other people. It was obviously me that had dropped a heroin Tudor, and y'all fucking knew it. And I forgot about that till now. But anyways, So I don't remember where I was even going with that. But we're here to interview you.
Okay.
Because there's a lot about your story that I don't know. So where did you grow up?
I was born in Chicago, and we moved to Racine, Wisconsin.
You gotta hold the mic up here.
We moved to Racine, Wisconsin. When I was a kid, I grew up from 0 to 11 in Racine. It's 20 minutes south of Milwaukee. And then from 11 to 15, we moved to Birmingham, Alabama. And I came out to California when I was 16, turning 17 in 82.
Why'd y'all move around so much?
My mother was a raging alcoholic. My father was very abusive, and when she was a kid, I found out years later that her mom moved around a lot, and so it's one of those product of environment type things. And I did it a lot until I went to treatment and started understanding all the different tapestries of makeup that created who I am, the way I think, the way I feel, the way I see myself, and so, yeah. But I've been out here since '82. I did move back to Wisconsin a few times, running from, my addiction and the law and things like that. But yeah, I've been out here since '82.
So, with y'all moving that much, how did you do in school? Drop that right there. I think that's why it's making noise. How did you do in school?
I did actually good in school. I graduated with a 3.8.
Okay. From out here in San Diego?
Mm-hmm. Lincoln High School.
Okay.
Let me tell you how, this is why I knew when I needed some help. I didn't even think about how Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde this was until 20 years after the fact. I was a star basketball player, right? Made first team all league, all city, as the only junior in San Diego. I was a new kid on the block with exceptional talent, and I would do all the things that teenagers do with my friends in the daytime, and then at night I would go downtown and torture homosexuals.
What?
As a teenager. Yeah, I would tie them up, torture them, I would act all vulnerable, and
Steve,
yeah,
I didn't know that.
I mean, because at 15 I woke up and a man was molesting me and touching me, and I had resentments. And I didn't know until later and process all this information that my athletic ability came from the rage that I had against other men, and no man would ever dominate me. And
Okay.
so I had to be the big fish in a small pond, no matter what court I stepped on,
Okay.
because I didn't understand the, the cause and effect of that experience and how it was shaping and forming me without my permission.
Wow.
And so that was just, one of many reasons why I'm so passionate about
Yeah.
helping people, because a lot of times if you ask someone, who are you? They say, oh, my name is Mike, or my name is Sydney or Steve. But that's your name. That's not who are you. And I didn't know who I was. And I didn't realize it till many years later. I stopped dreaming as a result of some of those violations, some of the failed experiences. And so when you just exist and all you have to function off of is a bunch of broken experiences, then it's easy to abandon relationships. It's easy to not keep a job. It's easy to be irresponsible. It's easy to hate, fumble, be inconsistent, to lie, be in denial, and just end up whatever feels good, opposed to having a vision that you actually participating in.
Totally.
And so,
well, I remember you told me once, we were talking about, all the guys that we hung around with, everybody's convicts, ex-cons, and there's that extreme hatred for chomos, pedophiles in prison and in jail. And obviously everybody feels that way, but you know what I mean? The guys in our world, it's even worse. And I remember asking you once, I was like, obviously nobody likes a child molester, but this is they're going to kill him in prison, and there's a rage there that goes beyond the average person. And I remember you telling me, you were like, well, most of those guys have been abused. That's why they feel that way. And I don't know how I didn't think of that, but I was like, oh my gosh, fucking duh,
Yeah.
Did you tell anyone when that happened?
No.
You did not. Okay.
No, I just told my mom. We was in Dallas, Texas. We was stranded in Dallas, Texas on the way out from Birmingham, and my brother lived out here, and it was at the summer, and I pressed her every day, all day after that, to get me out of there, to come out to California. And I used my sports interests as the means to get me out here, but really I didn't want to be in that situation. The other thing that happened out of that, along with all the other tragedies that happened in my house before because that happened at 15, but from the neglect, the abuse, I never got one Christmas present as a kid. I never got one item of school clothes as a kid. I didn't. All my clothes came out of a black trash bag. And my job was to find the cleanest, dirtiest item.
Right.
And so between the resentment from my mom abandoning me, and then you're gonna beat me, and then the abuse I got from my peers in school was a formula for disaster.
Yeah, totally.
It was the first message that I didn't belong, I didn't matter, I didn't count, yada yada yada. And so I have a real crazy story, man. Like, I seen my mother shoot my father in the head at 5 years old right in front of me.
What happened?
He used to beat her a lot in the 60s. So
He didn't die though.
no, I buried him in 2020.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So back in the 60s, there was no domestic violence like that. You can beat your wife and they'll tell you just leave the house and come back. And she got tired of it and she shot him. But I'm number 8 out of 11.
Right.
And she was 26 when she had me.
Yeah.
So by the time she was 31, she had 11 kids. I have 2 kids and I get it. So after, years of stuff, you come to understand, and I was able to forgive her.
Yeah.
Because you know getting beat up by somebody that and won't let you take birth control pills.
Right.
And
Oh, he wouldn't? That's why that kept happening?
yeah.
Okay.
It was different times.
Yeah,
so
totally. When's the first time you got high?
I was 15, right after that situation.
Okay.
I drank my first beer.
Okay.
Did
you like it right away?
I didn't like it at all. My brother, in Texas, you can drink walking down the street. And so
Right.
I looked at older than 15, and so, I had the first beer. So I came out here, and I was in 11th grade. Me and my friends used to drink 40 ounces and smoke weed every day.
Okay.
And then in 83, 84, crack came out.
Okay.
And we started smoking Primos. I did it somewhat successfully until I got out of college. And then...
Where'd you go to college?
Southwestern.
Okay.
In Chula Vista.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's when...
You graduated college?
No, just 1 year.
Okay. When you first smoked Primos, which is a joint with crack on it, right?
Weed,
Yeah, weed with crack on it. Had you ever done regular cocaine before that or no?
No.
Okay. What was the feeling? Did you like it right away?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the reason why cocaine worked for me is because it numbs you. And so when you look at all the abuse, neglect, the trauma that I had to live with up to that point, all the insecurities and fears, always feeling unaccepted or I didn't belong or that I was different, To have that numbness provided a false sense of okayness. And the problem with that is, just like any other addiction, you don't know it's a problem until it's a problem. When it was time for me to abort the mission, I didn't have the ability to.
Right.
And then you stuck.
Right.
And just like the evolution of all other substances, we start lying to the people that matter. We start doing things that we probably wouldn't have done otherwise. We start lowering our standards. We start neglecting our hygiene, and it's progressive. And
Right.
so before you know it, you don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Because I was talking to one of the guys over here, and he didn't go through treatment or the county jail. He came straight off the streets. And I told him I just had a hip replacement surgery. And the first thing they did was they put me under anesthesia.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why they did that, because they didn't want me to feel the pain of the full measure of the experience. And then they took this laser and they burnt my leg for 18 inches. Then they took a scalpel and they cut it. And I said I couldn't feel none of it because I was under anesthesia. And once they got down to the bone, they stretched it out and they cut the saw and they cut the bone out of my fibula. And I said I didn't feel any of it because I was under anesthesia. And I went on and said some other things, and I said, so when we out there drinking and getting high and whatever, it's a form of anesthesia, and we don't always feel what's being broken. We don't always feel what's being damaged. Yeah. Until the anesthesia wore off, and now we can feel all the damage.
Totally.
And so I was explaining to him, your job is, you got one job, is just to get better and recover from all the brokenness that you didn't feel under the anesthesia.
Yeah, I love that. That's so true.
So.
So you went to school for 1 year. Yeah. What made you stop going to school, and how bad was your drug use at that point?
Okay. So I lived in Birmingham for 5 years before I came out here. Mm-hmm. And it was from 78 to 82, 77 to 82. And they still had the whites only signs. They were still hanging people. 32 black kids in Atlanta came up missing at the time. There was a lot of racial discrimination. It was all bad. And so, as a kid, not understanding why, when my mother took us downtown to eat, they had the white and red signs, whites only. You know.
For restaurants?
Yeah, and water faucets. This is Birmingham, Alabama. And so, speeding up the process, I broke my leg my first game my senior year. I lost my scholarship to UNLV. I kind of gave up a little bit because I knew I could never be as good as I was with a steel plate in my ankle. But I knew I still was better than the average player. So I gave it a shot. I went to, the coach came out to meet me and Darrell. And he said, but I believe in politics. Now at 17, 18 years old, I didn't understand what he was saying. It was his first year there, and he brought his point guard from high school with him. And even though I was a much better player, he never played me. He always played this guy who sucked. His game was trash to the highest degree. And so from my experience in Birmingham being discriminated against to the bounce back from my sports career to have this guy discriminate against me, you know, it kind of confirmed my theory that this world isn't fair. And being an athlete, you have a winner brackets and a loser's bracket. Crack had just came out. I had broke my leg. It was my way out of that barbaric environment I grew up in. And I felt God had abandoned me, knowing that I worked so hard to establish a life for myself and a career, only to one step for the big ticket. The guy named Judge Buster, who broke my ankle, ended up playing with Jordan for 3 years.
Oh, shit.
Got 3 rings. He played out of power weight. I had dunked on him twice that game. But, you know, going through the attic experience and my early years in my home qualified me to be able to carry a message to people that suffer that they can identify with. You know, it created the passion not to give up, but to understand. And I thank God for all the people He put in my life to unravel the knots that allowed me to be able to relate to all of it and not just the bad things.
Yeah,
you know what
totally,
I mean?
totally.
And so I'm a weirdo. So my first time in one of those pseudo programs, I would complain all while I'm in group and listening to all this stuff. But then once we go back to the dorm, I find myself talking about the things that I was just criticizing. And I was sharing it with people, and I would go back to my bunk and say, dude, what the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
Like, who are you? You
Right.
know? After a couple more, I think we call them God shots, I noticed I was able to retain information concerning the human condition when it comes to substance abuse, emotional literacy, family dynamics, childhood messages, and all that stuff. And I bought into the idea that that was another gift outside of basketball.
Yeah.
Having the natural ability to be authentic and helping other people find their way.
Totally.
And enhance their knowledge about what's going on.
Absolutely. I
And
think
so-
that's true.
Yeah, and so there's a certain comfort and peace and serenity that comes from being obedient to what you believe your purpose is.
Yeah, I love that. But I want to get to all that, but I
Okay.
want to, I don't know the actual story though. You know what I
About-
mean? Sorry, that chair is so uncomfortable.
No, about what?
About you, how we got there. So before we get to all the healing, I want to go with like the escalating drug use. So you quit school after 1 year, and then where do you live? Where do you
Okay.
work? Like the actual details of Steve's life.
So in the early 80s when crack hit, I eventually left my girlfriend, my high school sweetheart, because she wouldn't leave me. And that was another window into who I was, because I would rather be alone and suffering than take someone I care about through what I was going through. It was another window into probably my authentic self that was contaminated by a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so I ended up downtown homeless as a teen, in my early 20s for years. And then I lost all my trophies in the hotel room. And
How did you support yourself and get crack day to day? And how many years are we talking?
okay, just so you know, by this time there was no recovery or treatment, so I was a madman.
Yeah.
I knew I was strong. I knew I was fast because I also played football.
Yeah.
I was outside linebacker and defensive end. And I know I had strong legs. I can glide from the free throw line at 6'1", and not many people can do it. I've never seen a 6'1" person do it to the day.
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant was the shortest person I've seen ever do that.
Yeah.
And he's 6'5", 6'6".
Yeah.
And so they had an Army supply store downtown. I used to buy these big knives. And I would rob people.
Okay.
And I would hold my knife behind my back. And after they would give me the dope, I would click it. And it sounds like a gun because it was so big.
Okay.
And then when they wouldn't want to leave, I was crazy, man.
Yeah.
I had the big beard. I would slide my knife down the fence, and I was fearless.
That would have been scary to see you.
I would have used it if I don't have to.
Like really scary.
I was a madman. I
understand
was a
how that
zombie.
was your primary way of getting stuff was intimidation. I would have been terrified if I'd seen you.
I would sell bunk dope. So, mind you, now back in the 80s, the military used to come downtown and buy a lot of drugs.
Really? Oh, okay. Like Marines and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they supplied a lot of it, but I was a predator.
Yeah.
And I used all the sense I had to analyze people and situations, and I took risks. I was suicidal. I would woo you over with politeness and kindness, and you let me in your hotel room, and you would end up tied up, and I'd be on the 5th floor walking out with your TV on the 5th floor. I swear to God, downtown.
Yeah.
I was crazy.
Okay.
So
actually, I'm glad that you just shared that because I just did a huge show, a big podcast, and the guy's drug use was different than he was a gnarly heroin addict, but he lived with this girl who paid for everything for like 8 years. He never had to do hardly any crime, nothing like that, no crime. And I told him the story of actually where Shatima had dropped me off. It was this older dude, a heroin addict, who let a couple of younger guys stay there, and I started staying there too. And then when he wanted them to leave, they just wouldn't. They just took over the place and locked him in the back bedroom. And my friend who interviewed me could not understand how that would even happen. And he asked me, why didn't he call the police?
No.
I was like, what do you mean, why didn't he call the police? He was a drug addict too. No one's calling the police.
You can't call the police.
Also, they gave him dope every single day. I mean, they kept him well. You know what I mean? And he had I think that maybe there's just a different level of like that criminality where you understand. I totally understand what you just said. So that's kind of how you survived.
Yeah,
you would say,
suicidal.
let me stay with you. And then you would, steal their stuff.
I was suicidal. Because, okay, mind you now, getting beat with extension cords every day. And I ain't talking about hold your hand. I'm talking about savage beating from 15 minutes in rage. I remember we used to always say, I wish I was dead. I wish she was dead. So by the time I lost my basketball career, there was nothing left to be here for. And then after everything that happened to me, to find myself homeless in my early 20s, downtown San Diego, I didn't have nothing but rage and resentments against the world. And so nothing mattered, nothing.
Yeah.
I weighed about 150 pounds. I had the big beard, afro growing. I looked like the American werewolf in London.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I was a maniac. I'm not gonna say any names, but there were some nationalities here at the time that you just didn't mess with. Okay. And I was robbing them too.
Okay.
You know how they say suicide by cop? It's kind of like one of those things like I only would target people who had the ability to hurt me.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And
did you ever get hurt? Did you also get kidnapped or beat up?
No, I've never been kidnapped. They tried to chop my leg off one time in Chicago.
Tell me that story.
So somebody gave me some drugs to sell, and I tricked it off with this girl. They came back. I was a gangster disciple, and they was vice lords for one. And when I came back short on the money, 3 of them showed up at the door, and one of them shot behind me. And I said, well, he was a little one. I said, well, if he's going to shoot me in my head, it's over anyway, so I ain't even going to trip. And so I took off on the other 2 guys. Well, we sitting there fighting, and this guy on my back, I'm not tripping on him because he's a little cat, but he had me in a chokehold. And so when I realized I'm losing my air, I ran backwards. They got, in the middle, they got those wall heaters, and we fell down. One of them ran to the sink, and it was a hatchet. And I was going under, and so what I did was I took this hand and put it under his arm, and then I pushed up, and then I could breathe a little bit. And when I came to, all I heard him say, chop it off, chop it off. And he was chopping on my leg, and I started moving it. And luckily, the girl upstairs who I used to sell drugs to came down and said the police was coming, and I was able to make it out of it. I got this scar on my nose. I had robbed these people for about $600, and I didn't leave. Like, I don't believe in leaving the block. Like, it's my block, you know? And they came back with a truck full of people with Louisville sluggers, and I don't have any fear at that time. Like, it didn't exist. So the first one that came to me and swung it, I was able to grab the bat, snatch it out of his hand. Out of about 13 people, I got down to the last 2, and I'm chasing them around, and I'm having fun, laughing, right? And my life's on the line. And so I swung at him, and he ducked, and my momentum took me to the ground, and I'm laughing. And when I get up and look up, there's a bat coming right in my face, and it hit me right here and broke my nose. And luckily, a girl came out when they was beating me and shot a gun in the air, and they left, and I had to go to the hospital for that. So yeah,
just shit like that, chaos and violence.
Yeah, but I didn't. Playing football and being aggressive and growing up in Chicago and having pain inflicted was not a new condition for me.
Yeah.
You know, they used to make us go, in Wisconsin they got these willow trees, and they hang down, and they used to make us go get 3 of them, and when you come back, you just, and just the branches, the leaves just come right off. And they used to make us braid them, right? And then they would make us get in the bathtub and get wet and don't dry off and come out, and then beat us with the extension cords and the switches.
Does that hurt more if you're wet or something?
Yeah.
Why? Wait, why? I don't know. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it makes it way worse.
I wonder why.
Hurt people.
Right, but I mean, I'm saying I wonder why if you're wet it hurts more, like physically. That's crazy. I've never heard of that.
It stings more. It's crazy.
Okay, interesting.
It's torture. It's abuse. They should be in jail today. I'd have called the police on them just thinking about it.
I agree.
Motherfuckers.
I agree.
That's just, I would have never, like, I hit my kids one time on the back pocket each because they wouldn't stop touching stuff in Five Below.
Yeah.
I felt guilty for a long time.
Yeah, totally.
And I hit them hard too. Like,
yeah.
They needed to feel it because I told them, like, quit, stop. And they wouldn't. And they have everything they need. I mean, like, and they were just so disobedient, and so they needed that. And I've never had a problem out of them since. They used to wake us up in the middle of the night. Okay, first they would send you to bed with no food and say, hey, you're going to bed because you're bad, right? Kids supposed to be bad. We're 3, 4, 5 years old. And then in the middle of the night, they would ease the covers off of us, and we'll wake up being beat with extension cords at 3, 4, 5, 6 years old by either my older brother, sisters, or my mother. So by the time you go through many years of not eating, neglected, the trauma, the shootings, the violence. I mean, my mother has so many fights in the house. I remember a lady hit her in the face with a big vodka bottle, blood's everywhere, and she dragging the lady through the blood. My house was a Thunderdome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I remember one time she took me to the bar wood and she fights in the bars. My mother, she's I don't know if it's Cherokee or something, but my grandmother looks just like an Indian woman.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Got the very high cheekbones, the straight hair, the dark skin. I think she was half Indian, my grandmother, and my mother got a lot of that. She looked just like her. And so my mother was a fighter. She was left-handed, and so there was a lot of violence. And so to get to the point to where me taking life-threatening risks,
It was nothing.
it wasn't a concern. You can't do shit to me.
Yeah. Did you think you were a drug addict? Did you even think in those terms when you were homeless? Did you think, wow, the crack is a problem? What did
Yeah,
you
of course.
think? You did. You thought you were a drug addict.
Being an athlete, I accepted that was the loser bracket. Some
right.
people win, some people lose. And I thought that was just how things supposed to be.
Yeah.
I became comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to remember, I never lived in a setting that was safe,
Right.
responsible, caring, productive, none of that.
Right.
My whole upbringing was based on survival skills.
Yeah.
So I can function in those chaotic environments. It's been a part of my life.
What do you start getting arrested for? Like, what do you get arrested for the first time, second time?
Just all drugs.
All drugs, possession charges.
I got away with
Okay.
the violence,
Okay.
luckily.
Right.
Well, I got smart too, because I used to carry pistols. I've done a lot of shooting before Three Strike Law came out.
Okay.
And I was in El Cajon County Jail, and they gave a white guy 25 to life for $112 worth of clothes he stole out of a second, like a thrift store. And he was joking around and playing all the while. He got sentenced, and when they sentenced him, I couldn't believe it. They did that to a white person. Shit. Hey, for $112?
Oh my God! Because it was his third strike and it was a felony.
Yeah, and
Damn.
petty theft with a prior is a felony.
Yeah.
And at that time, the judge couldn't alter the sentence because it was a stipulated sentence.
Okay.
The judge couldn't say, well, based on the nature of the crime, I'm going to be 18 or 10. No, it was a stipulated sentence. That's what was the nature of the crime. And so I retired all the pistols, and so I felt like if I got it in the game, then it's all fair game.
Okay. Okay.
So
when do you start going? What's the first treatment center you go to? How old are you, and how do you even hear about it? How do you get there?
the first one was right stepping out. It was in East Mesa.
Okay.
And this is when the white, unfortunately, I see he was out there now using. He's bad too. It was stepping out program,
How old were you?
like 32.
Okay, so you were homeless and using for a long time before you
Yeah.
went to treatment for the first
So
time.
what happened was in '88, I went back to Wisconsin and met a girl, and I was with her for off and on for like 5 or 6 years. And when things got bad, I would come back out here and I would go back out there.
Okay.
And so I came out here, and I went to stepping out. And, you know, I've never trusted anybody at this point. Like, I always looked at them as victims, as Mark. How can I, first of all, you need to just shut the fuck up. I don't know you. Why you come with this weird shit? And luckily, I couldn't do nothing to him because I believed in violence. So I sit there and bit my tongue, but then afterwards, like I was telling you, I would go back and I would share
And
things.
say
that
things, yeah.
like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? So, and so I came, I get out, I would use the same day. I never reported to probation. I never reported.
So it was through probation that you went to treatment for the first time. Somebody sent you.
They was in East Mesa. They just happened to be there.
But I mean, how did you even know about it? About rehab?
East Mesa it was, I don't know if it's considered rehab. Stepping out is more like, you ever been to prison?
No, jail,
Okay.
but not prison, no.
When you get on S time for 14 days, it's like more like reentry.
Oh, okay. So it was a sentence. That's why you were there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was
Okay.
on county time.
I thought it was like choices.
No.
Oh, it was like.
East Mesa is a county facility.
Oh, okay.
That's
So
where all
you
the
got
trustees are.
sentenced to
Yeah,
go
I was
there.
in the county jail.
Okay, so that's when you first start seeing about recovery, is because it was a sentence.
Yeah.
Okay.
They had like a reentry program
Okay,
there to help
okay.
people. So the real program wasn't until 97. And I had came out here. It was finally over with me and Tanya. And it's kind of like we were talking about earlier. You have to suffer enough before you become teachable. And so we had been together this time about off and on for about 10 years. And I had ran him up that weekend again. And when I went and knocked on the door, she just cracked it. And I was like, "What are you doing?" She said, "I can't do this no more." I said, "But you know I love you." That was in a form of an apology. But she said, I know you love me, but you don't know how to live." And she shut the door. After I made it back to San Diego, I was downtown and I had a couple rocks in my hand. And the realization hit me that I traded in the love of my life for these rocks. Blew me away. And I just started crying and couldn't stop. And it's funny because God has always been trying to get my attention. And so I walk all the way down to the harbor. I don't even have craving for dope or nothing. My heart hurts, like it physically hurts. And so I'm sitting there on the rocks, and there's these dead fish in the sea, and the waves are moving, but the fish are staying still. And it kind of told the story of my life. Like how life been going on in session for many people. And I'm like a dead fish just in the way with no movement.
Yeah.
And then I got arrested and went to prison, and that's when I was introduced to Amity.
Oh, okay. What was your arrest for? Possession again?
Sales.
Okay. Oh, sales, which is why you ended up in prison.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I have like 9 sales cases now.
Oh, shit.
I just got
Okay.
convicted of 3.
Again? When you were out?
Yeah.
Steve.
But I didn't go to prison.
All right.
I went to the county jail.
Okay.
I got lucky. Fentanyl too.
All right. Listen, I'm just
They
glad
tried to
you're.
get
I'm
me.
just glad you're here.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you go to prison, and then you get introduced to Amity for the first, and that's the one that I know was really important to you.
Mm-hmm.
What about Amity was different, or what about this time for you was different? What starts to happen when you get to Amity that's different?
So they had 7 lifers in the program of all races. And it was the first time I experienced...
Sorry, that's him snoring, obviously.
Cool. How another race would tell me his brutal truths and explain to me how it altered their life and end up getting a life sentence through molestation and abuse and peer pressure, politics and racism, and being contaminated with outside influences from a very personal level. But then Amity had information that you couldn't deny the evidence of their position that they take with you. And so their philosophy starts out by saying, we came to the belief that life is an apprenticeship to the truth. Around every circle of truth, a larger circle can grow. The extent in which this circle expands depends upon the force of truth which the individual manifests. And it just goes on, and no man or woman is an island to themselves, our brothers and sisters keeper.
What does that mean, those first few sentences?
Okay, so when I first heard it, I said, man, something's weird about this. How can life be an apprenticeship to the truth? I think truth should be an apprenticeship to life, right? And so Naya, may she rest in peace, if there's no truth, then there's no life. Then you live in a lie. Like around every circle of truth, a larger circle can grow. Mean the first truth I have to admit is like, you know what, Steve, this may not be in your best interest the way you live in. The second level of truth, but you know what, maybe I should ask for help. The third level of truth, maybe I can get honest about my true experiences and quit hiding, being in denial about my shame and fears.
These are the circles expanding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever you feed is going to grow. And that's why life is an apprenticeship to the truth, because the more truthful you become, the more life you get.
Okay.
Otherwise, you just live in a lie, and there's no life in a lie.
Okay. That makes sense.
Right? And so one of their concepts is there's a mistaken reverence for our past acts that confines us to be true to yesterday's realities. I needed to hear that. You know, I stayed operating out of what was opposed to what is, right? And then the other one was use all called fortune to deal with the cause and effect.
Use what? Say that again?
Use all called fortune.
Okay.
To deal with the cause and effect.
Okay.
That means because I was poor, the effects that happened that evolved out of being poor, one of the messages that I didn't deserve to have nice things, that's where the sabotaging came when things worked. Feelings of inadequate or less than. I mean, there's so much. That's just one situation. Use all call for because the violence, the abuse, use all call fortune, meaning call the military, the army, the navy, the National Guard, top flight security, everything in your fortune, bring to the table to deal with the cause and effect.
Okay. Okay.
You know, just you have to bring. Don't leave no stone unturned in trying to figure out the conditioning response.
Okay.
We've been conditioned to respond.
Okay. So you figure out the cause and effect of your life that is leading you to like use or do whatever you're doing that is maladaptive.
To cheat.
Okay.
To abandon.
Okay.
To neglect. To lie. To cheat.
How did Amity help you discover that? It was a therapeutic community, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you go to therapy and stuff? Like, how did they help you do that?
By listening to people share their truths.
Okay.
Using the philosophy to untangle the knots through the group process.
Okay.
So it's basically a holistic approach. And so your story is the most powerful thing that you have, the family dynamic. And so you will start running your story and they would probe you on it. And then the more you tell it, the more will be revealed on how it altered your authentic course. I was there for 9 months in prison and then 6 months at the ranch.
Okay.
And so I didn't, it's kind of weird. I believe some of the things they were saying would work for me, but I didn't trust it wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
You know? And so what happened was, when I came to the ranch, they wanted me to stay for 2 years. I'm like, no, dude, I'm not going to be here for 2 years with curfews and no relationships. So if you had a girlfriend, you would have to bring her to the property and you would have to write a letter of intent to her and read it to the whole community. And if they send you with another girl, they will group the shit out you.
Oh, whoa.
They did not play that disloyalty stuff. Okay, so this what happened, that I was in prison and Regina told me I was a poor excuse for a man. I'm like, what? She was like, yeah, you're a poor excuse for a man. I was like, you don't know me. She said, I probably don't, but I know there are some prerequisites to get to prison. You have to hurt some people. You have to abandon some responsibilities. You had to break the law. You had to, and she just went on and on. And she said it's like the whole world on this march and you got your lazy ass in the middle of the street. When are you going to get up and join the march? And so that's how they get at you.
Yeah.
And so, just listening.
That's how you got at me.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah. So this is what I found out. It pisses me off sometimes. I go to being. I'm very judgmental.
No, you're not.
I be shit. I be analyzing everybody, everything, right? A fucking disease is not no kumbaya experience, man.
Right. Yeah.
After relapse,
Yeah.
you just survive hell.
Is that why we have to be spoken to that way?
And
Is that
nobody.
the only thing I would hear?
Well, yeah,
Okay.
I'm working. I'm taking a scenic route.
Okay.
So. And it bothers me that nobody talks about the depth of the real traumatic experiences that happen. Shit we do. You can feel the crust in your drawers because you ain't changed the motherfuckers. You know what I mean? You take your socks off and they make a noise. Fucking toenails cutting into your feet bleed and shit. You walking like R2-D2 from Star Trek because your feet hurt. You know you tripping and there's some spiders and shit on you. You know you tripping but can't stop. You know the shit that we do, the people that we abandon and neglect, the fears and the traumas, just the degradation, the dereliction of duty. I don't hear it. I don't hear it. And so my understanding to get to where you're saying is, after the anesthesia wears off, you still have to deal with all the behaviors and characteristics of the denial process that allows you to go to certain links. Anyway.
Right. Okay.
And so you're not talking to the person. You're talking to the behavior and characteristics that's left after the anesthesia. You're talking to the brokenness after the surgery.
Right.
And so in order to reach the person, you have to get through the denial.
Okay.
And so I can't talk to the disease because he's going to manipulate the situation.
Right. Okay.
You have to punch through the disease in order to reach the person that's behind the disease. And because we manipulate soft, passive,
Totally.
civil interaction.
Yeah.
That ain't how we function. And so, yeah, they had a very unique way of getting past the disease. And so they give you between the seminars and retreats. And so what they do is we will go to Arizona every 2 months, and they would give a retreat for 2 weeks on fathers and sons, grief and loss, intimacy, family dynamics, restorative paradigms, childhood messages, and they're just so much.
That sounds like a great program.
Oh my God.
Is it still there?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I went to
Oh, yeah, you went again, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they didn't like me, but
This past time or the first time?
this time.
Why?
Because I used to work there. And,
So they just taught you how to be a human again?
Or
not again.
It didn't bother me. I wasn't,
I mean the first time. They basically taught you how to be a person.
Well, so what they do is they go inside your story and they have surgery. Emotional, spiritual, and psychological surgery. They teach you to go back and to tell yourself something different.
Okay.
When your life have been from negative experiences.
Okay. Can you give me an example of that? So like someone that's listening right now, most people that don't live in California or even in California now don't have access to these county funded long-term treatment programs like you and I got to go to. So if someone's listening and they want to rewrite their story in this way, can you give an example of how to do that?
Okay, so a lot of what we have in common, I think, is family, right? If you feel that you have been mistreated or excluded, and they gave you the message that you didn't count, you have to go back emotionally at that 5-year-old and say, you know what, I do matter. My mom is doing the best she can with what she has. She's only given to me what was given to her. But I have the ability to alter and break that generational cycle of brokenness, right? It can be older when you're in relationships and someone cheat on you and you were like, you take the responsibility and the blame and like, maybe if I would have did this, like, no, You have to make sense that this person is just not loyal. It has nothing to do with me. I'm still valuable and worthy of a good person in my life. That way you don't lower your standards.
Right. Okay.
And you don't live with the shame and the guilt of other people's behaviors.
How did you rewrite the molestation piece?
I had to process it. I had to forgive him.
Okay.
Oh my God. She said, when Patty told me that, I said, what? I said, I'd rather cut his head off with a dog spoon, barehanded. I never do that. And that's when she told me, she said, hurt people hurt people. And if you ever want to look at how bad you're hurting or the depth of your pain, just look behind you of how many people you hurt. And I said, Jesus. And she said, you may not ever grow up to touch someone, but it's definitely going to have behaviors that is unacceptable associated with it. And so, for whatever reason, I trusted her. I listened to her. And she wanted me to write a letter to him, forgiving him. She wanted me to write the letter of the whole experience, how I felt his hand and I could smell the alcohol on his breath. And I remember the rage in my eyes when I woke up. And then what else happened after that? I was a virgin at the time, and 2 weeks later I had my first sexual experience. And so when I looked at that track record, I had slept with a lot of women with no real good intent, but only with personal self-gratification to prove that I wasn't gay.
Okay,
right?
That makes sense.
And so, first of all, I had to, in order for me to not to do what I've been doing, I had to forgive him. And working out the details and understanding the cause and effect of all the people the women I took advantage of, torturing the homosexuals and shit like that, and the transvestites and all the kids that was affected by the poor role model. I hold a lot of people hostage and hurt a lot of people that never had it coming because of someone else's negligence. And so I had to become bigger than the situation. And so in order for me, and at the time I didn't have any kids, so in order for me to have the Ellis name to be better and break the cycle of grief and loss, it's something that happens when you confront your demons. And I was honest, it was a secret that I had. This happened at 15, this was at 35. So for 20 years, I carried this secret around, and it manifested in overcompensating in the bedroom, and then not being able to pay a bill. You know, I figured if I just max them out real good, I can do what I wanted. It was crazy. But once you air out and become public, it loses its energy.
Totally. Yeah.
It loses its power to dictate your situation. And there's a lot of, it becomes a place of refuge.
Yeah, totally.
And peace now.
You know, FRC did that too. They just had us write and read out loud some of the more like painful moments from our life. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was so dumb at that time to say it out loud because why? Who cares? It was a long time ago. And I was coming from choices where they did tell me, doesn't matter. I don't care about your past, honey. This isn't therapy. What you going to do now? You know, Steve would say that.
Yeah.
And that's what was in my head. I was like, I don't need to talk about this shit. It was a long time ago. But I had to, if I wanted to get a job, I had to level up. I had to phase up. And I only did anything so I could phase up. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I needed to phase up.
FRC?
To phase fucking too, so that I could get a job. And that was always my purpose. And so I did it. And I wrote out something that was, I didn't even think it was that big of a deal. And when I look back, I don't think I ever gave FRC the credit it deserved because it was the last treatment center that I was in. Okay. And I think that saying that stuff out loud really did a lot. And it wasn't something I had ever really done before. And I think what you just said is true. Simply saying it out loud is one of the ways that you just take the power away.
So one of the things I incorporated RR was the basic assumptions, right? Public versus private.
Okay.
You remember those things?
No,
All right.
I might when you explain it.
Okay, so public versus private. Public heals, private kills. That's why they say you only as sick as your secrets.
Right, okay.
Family of origin versus family of choice.
Okay.
Demonstration versus direction. You don't remember none of that stuff?
I remember family of origin and family of choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
So when it comes to public versus private,
Yeah.
the way Charles explained it to me, he said, Steve, sometimes you just have to say it, right? He said, remember, in the beginning, he said, let there be light. He said, let there be light. Let the light separate from the darkness. He said, let the waves go here and there. I had things that, those are the things that I was going to take to the grave with me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But the pain of my choices became greater than the fear of my shame. The pain of my choices, losing things I care about, ending up where I started from, the neglect and abuse, the being lost to such length, and just being a loser and broken. I was so broken that it didn't matter what you thought about me no more.
Yeah.
And so I shared that being molested in prison. Charles wanted me to share my story, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, that's cool, because it was a new program. This was the first time after I left Amity and Relapse, and I went to CLC, and Charles was there, and so it was another TC like Amity, and he was like, nobody know how to run a story, but I want you to run your story because I did it before. I was like, okay, cool. And then he said, but I want the unedited version. I said, how you know I never said the unedited version? He said, because if you would have said it, you wouldn't be here in prison. Right? And so,
meaning like you wouldn't be back here again.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, right. How can you challenge that, right? And so it was.
That just blew my mind.
Yeah. He said if you would have, you wouldn't have been in prison again.
Oh my gosh.
And so now I have about 30 minutes before I go up here and share my story in front of 150 people. And I had like 5 secrets that I never, being homeless, eating out of garbage can, never getting school clothes and Christmas presents, and being molested. And I shared all that stuff. And mind you now, I'm 6'1", I'm like 255, no body fat, 20-inch arms. I won 3 fights already, so I'm not worried about nobody fighting. But when I shared an experience, I was on the school bus and the kids was asking me when the last time I showered. And I never had showered. And I thought 2 weeks was a good answer. I said about 2 weeks. And they laughed me. I was forever the laughing side. You don't tell kids that. They brutal. But I also told them how, from that point on, I always felt that I didn't belong in social circles. So at any job, at any restaurant, or any event, or any function, I always felt like I didn't belong. And so the addict life felt more like home to me because of so many different experiences. I shared with them how I turned into somewhat of a predator, and my sexual orientation has been disorientated because of the violation. And it was the first time in my life I felt free. In jail, I felt free. Oh my God. And you know what was weird? Like I was pro-treatment, but there was a lot of people who was supposed to have been bad boys and fuck this shit. You sat me, I don't want to be here, and you a sucker and this and that, and we pimps and drug dealers and all this stuff. And a lot of those guys, when I was talking to one of the counselors or a couple of them after I was sharing, I noticed that there was a long line. And I said, hello for a minute. And people would come up to me and say, hey man, thank you for sharing that, man. I made a big difference, man. And they didn't say, hey man, I was violated too, so now I understand, but But the look in their eyes and the heartfelt thank you,
Yeah.
you can tell that they can identify with the experience, and now they understand what happened. Now they know themselves a little bit better. And so when it comes to being brutally honest, I don't have a problem with it because I know the positive outcomes.
Yeah.
And people have worse, and it's just the truth.
It's just the truth.
It's just the truth. And I don't have to be ashamed of the truth.
Right.
I wouldn't walk around in thongs and shit as a 15-year-old kid to entice this guy.
Right.
Yeah. Cheerleader skirts.
That's true.
No, I wasn't twerking.
Of course.
No, I was playing basketball, minding my business. And so what happened is when Patty explained to me, when her people, she said, Steve, he's only doing to you what somebody did to him. So can I really blame him? Because I trust the individual, I trust the information. And I know the individual never want anything but the best of me. She's not going to lie to me about things. She's not going to mislead me or serve me some kind of distorted reality or to minimize the seriousness of that. None of that. She's going to call a spade a spade. And so when I looked at my story, how I hurt a lot of people, and I took things that can't replace. I had a sense of conviction to make as many as indirect amends as possible.
How are you making indirect amends?
By sitting here with you. No, I'm just kidding.
No, that's true.
No.
That's legit.
So
sharing your story.
I was just kidding. So the R&R, it happened at R&R.
Okay.
It happened at R&R.
Yeah, for sure. It did.
It happened at R&R.
God, how did you we were so awful. But were we? Maybe we weren't, I guess.
You were.
Like, I was.
I remember.
You know what's funny? I will have people sometimes online say, look at you. You obviously were not this person that you say. Can you vouch for how fucking bad I was of a drug addict?
Most people she'd have been 86 a long time ago.
Well, I was from everywhere.
Yeah, I'm talking about even from there. I remember one time I was at the McDonald's and it was early morning and I don't know if he was nodding or tired, but when you lift your head up, I was standing there and a tear rolled down your eye.
Yeah.
With the plastic bags, but it ain't for them to convince them.
Right. The only reason I want to ever bring it up is so that people know that you can heal, right? Because I know sometimes people are like, "Oh, it's easy for you," and to some extent that's true. I had a privileged upbringing, but that all stopped at some point, and I was just a dirtbag junkie.
That's what I understand about you. Like your father's a pilot.
I know. I don't know what happened.
You just wanted to be high. No, you guys. So how bad was Janine? She was one of my worst residents, actually. And I say that excluded from the mental health people that just can help themselves. But when it came to manipulation, when it came to betrayal, when it came to sneakiness, when it came to dope fiend tactics, I mean, she would get caught and still lie about the truth. And it just blew me away. Like, I think I remember I said, so you telling me your addict brain works better than my sane brain, and because you're trying to convince me of some mess. In the heart of her active addiction, you would be pretty sure she was gonna die in her disease. That's how bad she was. Her appearance, it didn't complement. It wasn't as equal as the condition, but the bags gave her away.
Plastic bags.
The plastic little Bonds bags gave you away. Like
with all my possessions.
She may not be doing well, but yeah, if being that I was a counselor and demonstrator too, like it would be easy not to invest in someone that you didn't think that was gonna make it. I didn't see it that way because I was way worse in the heart of my active addiction, but being that I did know you come from a good background with your mom and dad, I believe, so Amity does a lot of spiritual stuff too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like Native American, we have the medicine wheel, they do the sage, the grandfather, the conch shell, the hatchet, bury resentments, the eagle, the hawk, the turtle represents humor, and all these things. And it talks about you got a good dog and a bad dog, whichever one you feed the most is gonna win the fight. And all this story about the eagle, all kind of stories. The story take a long time, and so when it comes to tree bearing fruit, being that you was cut from a good tree, I knew that you had the potential.
Yeah.
And so also knew this, the Shatimas, the Janines, the Joannas, I just seen it on Facebook. So
Jordan.
no, not Jordan. Well, Jordan too.
She was a different case. I
Yeah,
guess.
no, Jordan was so Jordan never suffered like
No.
I don't think Jordan ever suffered. She come from a good family too.
Yeah.
Like, now, she haven't suffered like that. Her family will always bail her out.
Yeah.
She ain't had to live in no doghouse or none of that shit. Like,
Totally.
no, she didn't have to wake up at McDonald's. She get cooked down to the what they call that breakfast when the hotels when you complimentary breakfast.
The bed and breakfast, like the brunch, the breakfast.
Yes.
Yeah.
So because I know my own story, the depth of my damage, I always felt like if I can alter my existence and become an asset opposed to a liability, then I take away everybody else's excuse. The other thing is, who's ever damaged the most grows the furthest because of the ground. If you can go 90 miles an hour backwards, you can go 90 miles an hour forward if you just got it in the right gear. And so you had a lot of energy, but it was in the wrong gear. And so I always knew, like, if it worked for me,
Yeah.
and I was able to help and influence others from my background, then other people like me who have the same depth to the sorrow and grief, if you can help this person, you'll help a million people
Yeah, totally.
because of the journey that they had to travel.
Yeah.
I catered to the Vori. You remember Vori?
Yeah.
I go to meetings with Vori. Like, I catered to
Yeah.
the most wreck damage.
Yeah.
Because them the ones have the ability to help the more people.
Yeah.
If you got 2 problems, you solve them, you got 2 answers. But if you got 1,000 problems, you solve them, you got 1,000 answers.
It's true. I got a lot of answers now.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
So
no, that's totally true.
But watch this though. But we live in a society that doesn't see things like that. See, they don't listen. They don't know that the homeless population is the antidote for a lot of the civil chaos.
You think so?
From social disorders to degradation to dereliction of duty to being heartless and numb, savageness, the answers that's in the darkness was create the light.
Yeah. Okay. Like if those people can find their solutions, that's the
They have
solutions
the
for everything
answers.
else. Yeah,
They have
you're
the
right.
answers.
Huh? Yeah.
They have the answers, but because we don't invest in them.
Totally.
And so I'm gonna tell you. So what we do is, when we abandon, I heard this one lady say, an injustice against anyone is an injustice against everyone. You know, if the people would have gave up on me, they would have gave up on you.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
Yeah.
And just use it in the homeless situation. If you give up on them, then you give up on those.
Yeah, that's totally true.
Right. But we numb.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we numb to the human experience because whatever, pressure, society, bills, relationship, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I was in 7-Eleven. It was the security guard had on a Trust God shirt or something, and it was treating a homeless person like shit. And when I went to go up there, he opened the door for me. I said, man, you got to be careful how you treat that guy. He said, oh, no, he comes all the time. I said, listen, I see your shirt. I said, when he come back, I said, that guy is on the front of the list. He's going to come to him before he come to you, so you better be careful how you treat God's sheep, man.
Did he understand what you were saying?
He heard me. He said,
Okay.
you know what? He said, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Okay.
You know, just sometimes we live in
It's
the,
easy to forget.
I call it the matrix. When you've been programmed
Yeah.
to be obedient to a system, sometimes that obedience is without your permission. It's because of social programs.
Right. Totally. Yeah.
I seen the guy who hired me do it, so I do it.
Yeah.
There's some psychology behind behaviors, right? And not always knowing that we're denying our own belief based on status.
Yeah. So your relapse, how much time did you have when
Okay.
you went out?
I don't know. I had more than 10.
You did. Okay. I can't remember.
My clean date was October the 5th, 2009.
Okay. And I don't know when you left though.
In 2021, I started getting high.
Okay. So
About 12 years.
okay. Wow. That's a really long time. So what happened? Like, if someone's listening that has 12 years and you could prevent someone else from possibly making that same mistake, how would you do that? What would you say?
The short version is, if you have been pursuing a vision and dedicating your blood, sweat, and tears to the project, and the people you included end up betraying you and you happen to lose some things, keep what you have, because 30% of something is better than 100% of nothing. And so in my situation, I included some people into this project that started a smut campaign. I won the game, but they wanted the trophy, LaShawn and Dennis. And because Doc wasn't there anymore, they would go to him and lie on me. And as a result of that, they started treating me different. And then when they started stealing money out the account, I sued them. When they got the demand letter from the lawyers, they let me go.
Okay.
I was so disappointed
Yeah.
with Doc because his name was fucked up. Nobody wanted to go there.
Yeah.
It was trash.
Totally. And you changed it.
I went in there being grateful because he gave me an opportunity to stay. And I knew I had something to offer his community. I did everything accordingly, you know. And so
It's devastating.
For him to turn, and I remember him telling me, because there was this one young kid that was there, and she always wore her pants so low where you could start seeing the creases in her pelvic, right? And I said, man, what's the policy on the women? He said, there isn't none. I said, what? He said, no. He said, but I'm going to say this to you. The hardest thing is ever to clean up is your name. He said, you can walk 100 old ladies across the street, but the first time you suck a cock, you're going to be that dick sucker the rest of your life, right? And so I heard that, right? And so I always protected my name. I cleaned up his name.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't even clean it up.
Yep.
And with him selling that to me and me cleaning up his name, and for him to betray me like that, fuck me up.
Yeah.
Fuck me up. I got him out of debt.
Yeah. You know what's interesting?
Paying off 23 mortgages.
So I actually get how devastated you were. I don't even know.
I wanted to kill him.
Yeah. This is a smaller scale because it was a shorter time, but you know that studio that I owned.
Mm.
That's the highlight of my one of my proudest things I ever did in my life was buy that studio.
You should be.
Fix it up. It was beautiful. But you know, I lost it essentially. I mean, I sold it. We sold it on purpose, but God, it felt like a loss.
COVID.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I get it. And it was my whole sobriety.
Okay, I got you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I started there in 2015. It was part of my story. Just like you. Look at me. If I'm a heroin addict and I bought this business, so can you. It made me feel like I was actually a real success. And then when I lost it
gets you.
Yeah, it was devastating.
So being that was my first, LaShawn and me are first cousins.
Yeah. Oh.
Me and her mothers are sisters.
Okay. Oh shit.
She's lying about her clean time because she was drinking when I first ran back into her in Long Beach. She lost her apartment, went to Chicago. I knew I was going to need some billing person, and she did medical billing for for Exodus, so I knew she knew, and so I included her into this project and Dennis, only to have them come in and be snakes.
Yeah.
And so it devastated me. And then I was going to 7 meetings a week on that property, and then I wasn't welcome back on the property no more.
Right.
And then so the arrogance kick in. So it's like, fuck them people, you know. Okay, none of them ever judge me because none of them ever do what I've done. I don't care who they are.
Yeah.
I went as a resident in the owning part of the company and cleaned up the worst place in San Diego and created the largest sober living, 250 beds.
Yep.
And so, I felt that I gave my kids 10 years worth of good childhood. Disneyland, whatever it was all good. And so I quit. And the reason why I say to the people who's listening that 30% of something is better than 100% of nothing is this. If I could have just kept what I had, the 30% of something, then it would have saved me a lot of heartache, pain, trauma, and loss for the 100% of nothing. You know.
And do you think that was like some pride and some arrogance that made you walk away?
No, I didn't walk away. I didn't have the same. All that was my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I dedicated 11 years of my life every day for 7 days a week.
So what would you have done different? Where does the 30% come in? You wouldn't have sued
What
them?
I'm saying is, when the company was no longer there and the job, I was still at my apartment and driving tow trucks. So I didn't have the status or the financial that I used to have, but I did have that.
Oh, I hear you.
And I gave up that
to go all the way to zero doing drugs.
To
Got you.
Nothing.
Okay, so even though it was a step back, it wasn't a step off, which is what you took later. Okay,
right,
I understand.
Right.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So even if you experience a setback in life, it is not going to be worse than if you use and give away everything that you still had.
Yeah, because you're going to have to do it over again anyway. So now
totally.
I'm doing it. Here it is, five years later.
Doing it again.
I got to still do it.
Totally.
Okay, watch this. So this is what happened to me. The pain became greater than my sound judgment. And so this is what I say. And I learned this from Alvin. And it's something that kept me clean for a long time. He say, why give up everything you have to get what you already got? I'm like, what do you mean? He says, you sober now, right? He said, are you high? I'm like, no. He said, what goes up must come down. But the only difference is, if you get high, you got to give up everything you have to get what you already got, pretty much like you are now.
To get back to getting sober.
Yeah.
Because ultimately you're going to
get sober again.
Yeah,
you got to come down.
Right, yeah.
But the only difference is, if you do it, you have to give up all this to get what you already got.
Totally.
Sober.
Yeah, yeah. So you're out for however long, and you end up on fentanyl, which you were never an opiate person before. Tell me about the difference between fentanyl and crack, and what that experience was like being on fucking opiates instead this time.
I was on both of them.
Okay.
I was dangerous because my heart was going up and down. So being an opiate, fentanyl was weird. I enjoyed it though. That's the best. I understand. I get it why people keep doing fentanyl. Like, you talking about total euphoria.
Don't you just pass out though? Or are you still awake, kind of?
Both.
Okay.
It depends.
It depends on how much you do, probably, and blah, blah,
And
blah.
the
Same as
quality of
heroin.
it. And the quality of it. When you already high and keep going, then you pass out.
Okay.
Eventually. So the thing with opiates, I didn't know how close to death I was.
Yeah.
You know.
I thought you were going to die while you were gone.
I wouldn't have mind dying.
I know.
It was, I think there's a certain amount of depression that comes with opiates too, probably. So the opiates for me was more like a game.
Okay.
Because, so I was smoking and selling crack a little bit here and there just to keep my habit. I don't want to deal with crackheads These motherfuckers is ridiculous. Ain't nothing real. Everything's cap or game. They're trying to make you look this way and steal your rocks that way. It's ridiculous, right? And so when a friend of mine used to come in my tent and do fentanyl, and she has some other friends come out, it's a more chiller crowd.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a more chiller crowd. That's a big difference.
Yeah.
And so I used to go to Raphael. I ain't gonna tell you his last name.
Okay.
But
was the person Peanut that came into your tent that would do fentanyl with you?
who?
Peanut?
I don't know what that is.
Who's the person that tried to steal your wheelchair and you were like, do it, and you had a gun?
Oh, that was Peaches.
Peaches, not Peanut. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna shoot her, man.
For a wheelchair. Okay, finish this thought, but then I want the machete story and that story.
Okay, so
and then we'll be done.
I will go over to Raphael and bring back the fentanyl, and then I would come up off of it. I would cut it in half and all the kind of stuff. And then this one girl I like, she's the one convinced me to start doing it, whatever. And then Raphael got arrested, but he had a spot that was cracking around the corner, 2 blocks away, like a block and a half away, about a block together. And so I moved over there. And that's when I became more involved in the fentanyl.
Okay.
More traffic. People could still have conversations with civilness, and they brought better gifts and and stuff like that. But also the opiate users are more deceitful.
Yes.
They sneaky with it, and they got patience.
Yeah.
And they would wait in the grass like a snake and wait till I nod out and take all my shit. And I'd be mad as hell.
Opiate addicts are so
sneaky. You could have left
sneaky.
my toothbrush,
Yeah.
And then my pills, my high blood pressure pills. And then it would come back like nothing ever happened.
Mm-hmm.
I said, y'all, do you know you're in danger? I'm going to kill you. You don't know it. Like, luckily I have been in treatment. Otherwise, I'd probably be doing life in prison.
Right.
That's another thing for people who got clean time. I don't think we understand the level of humanness and the amount of cleaning up and pureness you are. And to go out there in dark environments, savage environments, it's a bad mix.
Yeah.
So yeah, the opiates, it was a more calmer,
Totally.
vibe with people.
But did you get dope sick a lot out there? Or you stayed pretty well?
I was a plug.
Okay.
I got skills.
All right, tell the machete story. I want the machete story.
So we just real quick about dope sick. When I really wanted to get out the game, I sold everything. I went to my mom's house, and I didn't want to do fentanyl or anything anymore. I usually could sleep for days, and I noticed I couldn't sleep but for one night, and I'm wide awake. Like, this is kind of different. I ate breakfast, and I had these knots in my stomach, like I've been poisoned. And I thought my sister poisoned me. And then I had a little bitty aluminum foil in my bag, and I hid it, and it went away, and I realized that I was kicking. And so I had to go back down there.
Yeah.
And now, every day after that was nothing but torture.
It's a horrible realization when you realize you're stuck.
Yeah. I had to go.
It's horrible.
I had to go back down there because I had like $500. I wanted to be spending it on bags, and so it was horrible. So the machete experience, man, I was tripping. It was a good day. I was having a lot of fun. When you keeping drugs around you, the girls are around you, and I had some nice situations. I'll just say that. My best friend right now is a Mexican girl. She goes to Mexico. And so I had some other stuff. But anyway, we sitting there. I had just bought this roulette game, and we playing blackjack. And
outside on the sidewalk.
Yeah, on the side. Like we at the damn casino, Circus or somewhere.
Because you had a tent, right?
Yeah. Okay. But it was a 5-man tent.
Okay.
One time I had a 9-man tent.
What? All right.
I started a 1-man tent though. That's when I knew I fucked up. A one-man tent, my legs were sticking out of it.
But see, even out there,
I said,
you
what the
built
fuck?
up.
I know, so I never did tents,
Yeah.
but I was falling asleep in chairs and people would
Right.
steal all my stuff. So my boy said, hey man, I got you a tent.
Get a tent, yeah.
And so that way I could take a hit and crack without not being looking for the police like this.
Right, yeah.
I crawled my big ass in that tent and my legs was hanging out and I took a hit. I was like, man,
This is bad.
that's when I realized I gave up my 2-bedroom apartment,
Totally.
cars.
Your car.
I said, oh my God, what have I done with my life? You know, so we
you're
are
playing roulette.
Yeah, we are having fun and everything. And you know, I'm very generous. So I'm passing out whatever, and we smoking crack, fentanyl, meth, everything. We just because it was the right people around. You know what I mean? Because sometimes everything's all business, just depending on who around.
Yeah,
whatever.
totally.
And so it was the right people. So we having fun, whatever. And I said, oh yeah. And I took my water gun and shooting at this guy. I said, oh, you want to mess with me? Acting like Scarface, right? And I took the machete. I had like 3 ounces of fentanyl, and I scooped it up, and I smelled it. I was trying to stay far away from it, but I actually sniffed it, man. And I said, oh, shit. And I called my boy Jack. I said, look, man, if I'm going to go out in a minute if I don't die. I said, here. I gave him all, and he said, take some milk and put it up my nose, and I threw up some. By the time I got half my little stuff in the tent, I don't remember nothing else after that. But I did get smart on them because I took 2 pieces and I stuffed them in the roulette game.
Okay.
Where the dice and the cards go, and put some garbage over it like it didn't matter.
Okay.
And when I woke up, it was still there.
Still there.
Everything else was gone though.
All right, tell the Peaches story when she was going to take your wheelchair.
So I'm sitting in my tent and I'm listening to these conversations. I had just bought a 9mm. It was one of the old ones that was metal, and it was heavy. And it was like, oh, this is a nice chair. Whose is it? And I hear him say, oh, that's Steve's. She was like, she said, fuck that, I'm taking it with me. I said, okay. Now I'm inside the tent. And I load it and I cock it. And I said, go ahead. And she said, I don't want that fucking chair anyway. Right? And I swear, I would have shot her if she would have took it. Because I was so tired that's why I bought it.
And that was the context of you telling me the story. You were like, I was so fucked up, I almost shot this girl over a chair.
Over a chair.
Yeah.
That's the depth of the insanity.
Right.
You motherfuckers. So, you know, it's crazy because when you don't feel like you have nothing to lose, then it doesn't matter.
Right.
You know?
So, last question. How do you get done this time, and what are you doing differently this time, if anything? You got arrested, right? And that's how you stopped this time?
Yeah. They had been on me. They wanted me off the streets because people was telling on me and whatever. I get arrested. That was the 3rd time I got arrested. So the other 2 times, when they took me to county jail, they took my blood pressure. My blood pressure was so high, they would take me to the hospital and drop me off.
Okay.
Because I was doing fentanyl to come down from being so paranoid on the crack. And I would do crack to come up from the fentanyl so I could make a sale off the fentanyl. Because I'll be telling people, I'm waiting for 30 minutes. And they're not, right? And so I got arrested, man. And I knew the war was over. I was so glad. They offered me 4 years. I took it. 2 years in, 2 years out. I didn't care what they gave me. I would have took it almost just to. I knew I needed all that time to bounce back and deal with whatever's left of my life. And so I didn't do the Suboxone or methadone. It was brutal.
What was that like? Kicking fentanyl in jail with nothing. Oh my gosh. Did they give you Librium at least or no? Okay.
I didn't do nothing. So I couldn't sleep. Excuse me. I couldn't eat for like 10 days. Everything tasted like metal. I didn't understand that. Like, I didn't eat. Defecated on myself twice. I was throwing up. After about a week, I kind of woke up, you know, and hurting, a lot of pain, no energy. So I was very depressed. Now looking back, I was so, because I knew I didn't get out of jail. I was still going to court, but when I finally got my release date, it was a year from now. And I didn't think I was going to make it out of there alive. One of the torturous things about being on fentanyl and being in jail was every night when I was afraid to go to sleep, because going to sleep was symbolic to ODing. And so I had these fears about going to sleep that I never wake up, because there were so many times I nodded out and woke up and didn't know that I was in a nod.
Right.
What if I was dead?
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it created this phobia. And so I remember I had 23 days clean, some fentanyl came in there. And the guy that was next to me, we just laid on the bed in our blankets all day, right? We didn't even get up for chow or nothing. And so him and this Middle Eastern guy, I looked back, he said, "Come, Steve, come on." And I said, "Nah, I'm good." Because I had talked to some people and they knew that I was going to be in jail a year. If I got out of, what kept me from doing it is when I got out and I didn't have a year clean, people were like, "Why you don't have a year clean, right?" And so when they did it, they was up running around, watching TV, playing dominoes and just, I'm like, man, maybe I should have, because I was fucked up.
Yeah.
Right? But then the next day, they was worse than they were before,
Totally.
right? I'm like, see there, I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah.
But I had a conversation with a close friend of mine about 25 days, and I can only talk on the phone for like 2 minutes. I need to go take a nap. I was so drained.
Yeah.
Just in a 2-minute conversation. And pretty much out of my mind. And it took about 8 months to feel any kind of recovery when it comes to energy or confidence that I can get clean again.
Oh.
It didn't come like in 3 months or 6 months. It took about 8 or 9 months. At 11 months, I had...
Were you at George Bailey? Where'd you go?
Downtowns.
Oh, the whole time?
Mm.
Okay.
In about 11 months, okay, so in my head, I started forgiving people and myself and everything, LaShawn and all them people, because I knew that if I was gonna have any success, I can't take that with me. It won't work.
Okay.
At about 11 months, I got a letter from Will, Steph Curry's cousin, saying, "Hey, Steve, I didn't know where you were at. Maybe we could open up some sober livings when you get out," right? And it gave me, it planted an idea in my head that, you know what, maybe there's still something to offer. I still have something to offer. And I started contemplating it. And then a week before I got out, Marcus wrote me and said the same thing. He's another one of my ex-residents. He owned a private security now. And so I started believing that even if I didn't get into sober living again, that I have enough potential to do something. I don't know, being an athlete, I don't ever want to do anything normal. I don't want the silver or the bronze.
I understand.
Always
that.
go for the gold.
I understand that.
You know what I mean? Like, so
I think that's an addict thing too, even more than yeah, for sure.
Got that energy.
Yeah.
And so, but what happened was when I got out, no transportation, no source of income, and I found myself in treatment. It was a reflection of my failure, and I had to work through all the realization of being a product of my choices. Do I have the willingness to rebuild the confidence and everything? And so.
And how old were you?
When, right now?
No, when you got out this last time.
That was a year ago.
Right, so.
58.
Okay. I think that's important to share. You had to rebuild at 58.
Yeah. But so all the stuff that I was speaking about earlier about sharing treatment when I didn't like it is all part of the same pie.
What do you mean?
The vanilla extract doesn't taste like the flour. The flour don't taste like the eggs.
Right.
The eggs don't taste like the milk, but it's all part of the same cake.
Yes. Okay.
Right. This is hindsight. Right. And so what I mean by that is that I never thought I would be another manager of a sober living. I wanted to die. You know, I had abandoned 2 people, my kids who I admired and really had the greatest intention of breaking the generational curse in my bloodline. And I have so far. But believing that the reason I didn't play pro sports and the reason why I suffered is to continue to be able to be part of a greater picture, opposed to a single independent story, is the reason why I believe I'm in recovery again, helping people. Not so much now through education and information, but with my personal truths.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
What I had to go through.
Yeah.
Like, who am I? Of course, with stories and concepts and cliches to emphasize points and messages. But it's back then I did a lot of teaching.
Yeah.
Right now I'm still healing from my own story.
Yeah.
And so like just have to say it. I'm telling them, and so I don't have to worry about can I do R&R again.
Right.
Because if I compare, I'm doing better now than I did then when I first started there. I ain't got to clean this place up.
Right. Oh, the new sober living that you're at. It's actually a better situation than when you started.
I'm in a better situation now than I was when I started this. So if I just stay the course, it's gonna be greater than that.
Totally. You went to Amity when you got out?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So eventually you obviously got a driver's license. You drove here. How did you rebuild all that stuff?
I stole that car.
No, you did not. See.
Cut the
How long did it take you to rebuild everything? What was your first job?
So when I left Amity, I went to sober living and alcohol.
Okay.
I wanted to go to R&R. They denied me. They rejected me, motherfuckers. But I was gonna cause havoc anyway.
Right.
You know, you can't tell me shit.
Right.
You know, I raised your ass, whatever. But so I went and out there, and I'm gonna tell you, I don't want to do none of this shit. Like, not having. When I relapsed, I had a CLK 350 Mercedes and a big body Charger with the rims dipped in the same paint, right, with 22s and the system, tinted windows, everything, all the clothes and shoes you can ever want. And when I got out, left Amity and ended up in sober living with no assistance, no food stamp, EBT.
Why?
Because I had a disability claim and they denied me.
Okay.
And so the sober living didn't give you food.
They denied you disability?
No. So they had gave it to me, but didn't tell me.
Oh.
I was still waiting for my next phone call.
Okay.
But they had accepted my case. The food stamp place knew it.
Okay.
I didn't even know I had won it.
Okay.
Until they told me.
Got it.
I said, well, I haven't got a check. She said, so what? You've been awarded. So.
Okay.
And so there was other challenges. I had to go to DUI classes for 90 days. I had to go to NNA meetings. I had to go to McAllister outpatient. I had to do all this stuff. Meanwhile, looking like a poster child from the Salvation Army. I couldn't eat what I wanted to eat. I couldn't wear what I wanted to wear. And I had to have the confidence as a lion, but the body of a fish. Right? Yeah. I didn't look like what I needed to be.
Yeah.
And I had to believe that operating from a deficit with nothing and no assistance, I still had to have the confidence that I can work it all out. And when you got in touch with me, I had been there about 2 weeks, and it really made a big difference in my life. And like I was
When
telling
I
you,
reached out? Okay.
and so I started on a project in Amity with Marcus for the bigger picture of the business. And I was doing I wrote the philosophy and the mission statement and all the stuff. 2 months into the sober living, when I created the Articles of Incorporation, we had some assignments. Long story short, it was such reminiscent of R&R with people that not to be trusted. They wanted status and power on a project that was my idea, and it's like, once again, they want the trophy after I won the game.
Okay.
So I aborted the mission.
Okay.
But I had already came up to Escondido and visited and helped Kiva establish his.
Okay.
And he wanted me to work for him. I said, man, I can't abandon my own project to help you. That wouldn't make sense. But when those idiots did what they did, or they showed me the red flags, I aborted the mission, took the job up here. But when it comes to, so I did get my disability. I finally bought a regular bike, and then I bought an e-bike. Then my friend Darrell gave me a truck. Unfortunately, it broke down on me. And so what happened was, I was going to court dealing with my license. I was on my e-bike, and it caught a block away from the house. Mind you, now this is before the surgery, and I couldn't really walk. And I looked at the house, which is a couple blocks away, and I looked where I had to go to put air in the tire. Was like a mile. And I said, if I go back to the house, all I'm gonna do is lay down and I ain't gonna get shit done. I said, what else I got to do but to get my life together? And so I walked a mile, and I ended up making it to the court before they was out, even though I went to the wrong one. So that experience taught me not to give up.
Yeah.
And things have started to work out. And so between my license, the fees, transportation,
it's a nightmare.
food, clothes, or whatever, I took time out to put the pieces together.
Okay.
It didn't matter what I didn't have. What mattered was, what can I do today until that happens? You know, I'm going to do this until that happens. Well, I can't do nothing about that, so I'm going to do this.
Okay.
And so it worked out. Now I'm back in the management, and we had a couple walkthroughs yesterday from some agencies trying to maximize this experience. Pat's coming through next week.
Okay.
I'm in touch with Stop 360.
Okay.
I got in touch with my grant writer. I talked to Cliff yesterday. He's a housing coordinator at Alpha Project. But even though the grandiose plans is great, but the primary purpose is always to make a difference for the newcomer.
Yeah.
And so right now, I have this great sense of awareness about all the little details and what matters.
Okay.
The people matters more than like the corporate business stuff.
Yeah.
The status.
Yeah.
Because I ain't gonna lie, I want to be
back where you were
situated.
Yeah.
I appreciated financial freedom.
Yeah.
I never had to ask the price on nothing or whatever.
Right. Totally.
I got what I want, and when I couldn't, I threw tantrums. Like
yeah.
I would go in Nordstrom's rack and they don't have any new shoes. I'm like, come on, man, what a manager. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Selfish, stupid. But if it happens, it happens. But what I do have is a life with or without the status.
Okay, so this is my actual last question.
Okay.
I know I've said that like 5 times, but now my phone's about to die. That's how long we've been going. Actual last question. What are you doing for your mental, spiritual, physical health to take care of yourself now?
Pretty much everything. One of the things I've been doing, and since I've been home, is asking for help.
Okay.
And so one of the things I found out about when I was in Amity was that I already have information, right? But this new relapse brought about new damage.
Right.
And so what I'm learning now is how to establish boundaries and limitations on what's new and what is opposed to what was.
Okay.
And so I go to meetings, I mentor people. When people hear me, I happen to spoke one time and a couple of people heard me. I've been mentoring those guys.
But you don't do 12-step.
I do and I don't.
Right, but you don't work steps or anything. You go
I
to
do,
meetings.
yeah, I know all the steps.
I know, but you know what I mean.
I practice them.
Right.
They're principles of
Right.
a part of my characteristics.
Right.
Like I take an inventory and promptly admit it when I'm wrong.
Okay.
I keep seeking through prayer and meditation to improve my conscious contact.
That's another one. So prayer and meditation. That's one.
Yeah.
So do
I
you have
study.
some sort of prayer and meditation practice? What do you do?
No, I pray all day.
Okay.
I came up with this thing that if he saved me from me, then it's not about me. It's about the greater good. And so having people I'm responsible for is a form of prayer.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
I am so conscious of not giving out misinformation or misdirection.
Yeah.
It's very spiritual. And I'm going to tell you, I had one guy that challenged hell. He was a drama queen from the Reds, and he was a bully and a crybaby and some most. And so it's not, so this spiritual thing is not always pleasant and kind. Some of the challenges has spiritual association. It's associated with your spirituality, you know, and so it challenged me to. It's not about problematic individuals, but it lets me know where my spirituality is at.
Right. Okay.
Give me a pulse of my spirituality.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I reflect a lot. It's probably my biggest spirituality.
Okay.
Keeping things in perspective, understanding that there was damage done.
Yeah.
That I didn't have to. It's okay to make mistakes and things like that. It's okay to forgive. I got about 13%, maybe 8% of forgiveness with them too.
Yeah.
It was hard.
Yeah.
Me and God went back and forth. And so.
Do they still work there?
Dennis died.
Oh.
8 months after.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so that was my guy. That was a guy's shot.
Yeah.
Because he put in a lot of work. I can go on about some of the stuff.
Yeah.
And so so my biggest thing is being connected back into what we're doing, going to the token, the TED Talks.
Meetings,
I go to meetings. I support other people. I give other people rides to meetings.
Service and connection.
So just learning how to live again. And I'm in a real situation. I don't have to worry about rent.
Yeah.
My kids, I take care of them still. So
yeah.
I've already accomplished a lot of the hurdles and situated, and I have a vision for bigger pictures, and I'm so comfortable that I don't have to reinvent the wheel. From the success that I've accomplished thus far, I would have waited 5 years to get here.
Okay.
I've done it. I'm getting here in 1 year.
Yeah, totally. I'm glad you can see that.
It's a fact.
Yeah.
I drove here.
I know.
I ain't asked for a ride.
That's why
1 year out of jail.
I wasn't sure. That's like I said, because I was like, I think he told me he got a car, but that's why I was like, I can come to you. I can come to you.
I sent you a picture of it.
I know, but I'd kind of forgot, and I was like, he has a car, right? I just wouldn't have expected that 1 year in. That's soon to have a car. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I was.
That's got it quick, huh?
I think so. I got one at 8 months, but only remember because that lady gave me it.
Oh yeah, I remember.
That's the only reason. Yeah. Can you believe that?
That's what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that happens.
Yeah.
What did you think of my TED Talk? Were you proud of me? Steve went to my TED Talk, y'all.
I'm gonna be honest. Okay, so you're a little intimidating to me.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how old you are, but back in the days there was a movie called Kung Fu with David Carradine.
Okay.
He was like a wanderer. He'd go all these different towns. And he was always trying to take the pebble from the master.
Okay.
Right? And it's like you took the pebble. I'm like, what kind of shit is this? I can't believe.
That's hilarious.
No, I
was so glad that you went.
So it blows me away. You didn't just stop using, but you rose way above any expectation. You broken and shattered any expectations. Your ability to converse is so admirable that anybody can receive it, understand it, and process it. And that's attractive, and it's priceless.
Yeah.
You know, I'm so proud of you. Like, I would have just been okay if you'd have just stopped using. But you look at your home. I mean, oh my God.
Yeah.
But your ability to speak and your level of information and understanding, the wisdom, the education that you have, and how all of it gels on stage.
I appreciate that. That's from that. That was
I know.
outside.
I was just saying, why she didn't hang it up?
I know, I need to hang it up. They just brought it to me like a few weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I need to hang it up.
So we sitting here living a dream.
Totally.
And so even when I'm not jealous. I'm like, how the fuck did she do that? Like,
I know what you're saying.
How do you come from where you come from and be so elite to me?
Yeah.
Like, you don't supposed to be that smart.
I agree. You used to tell me that. You used to tell me that. You'd be like, you're so lucky. Your brain should be fried. How much meth you shot, how much heroin you shot. I'm like, I know. I can't believe I can still read.
You're super smart. You have an ability and a talent. And it just shows why it was necessary for someone to support you and nurture you until be the training wheels until you learn how to ride this thing called life, because it probably wasn't never really about you.
Right.
It was about all the people's lives that is a little bit more better, that suffers a lot less, who heals a little more, who sleeps better at night, and the kids associated with it. I mean, the circle effect goes on for.
Totally.
You'd never see all the difference that you make when you help people and you make sense out of our nonsense. Yeah. And so it's surprising, it's amazing, but also it's believable because that's the power of genuine care and concern and love for someone. Ain't that right?
Okay, Bubba. Okay. Well,
you got your energy, huh?
I think he took a little nap the whole time. Bubba, you calm down. Yeah, he needs to go on a walk. You need to go outside, huh? Well, thank you for supporting me and nurturing me. And I'm so glad that you're back. And thank you for your time today. I appreciate it so much.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And I'm proud of you, and I'm privileged to be here because everybody didn't make it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.